Welcome to The Power and the Pain, where your past isn't your prison.
It's the fuel for your purpose.
I'm Greg Pihs, combat veteran, NLP trainer, and your guide to turn trauma into triumph. This is The Power and the Pain. Let's go. Welcome back to another episode of The Power and the Pain. Today we're going to be talking about motivation and discipline. There's a lot of controversy on this subject. Some people are big on motivation, getting pumped up. You know, we got to find our motivation. And then there's a lot of people that have a dialogue that's more like, hey, you're not going to want to do everything. Forget about motivation. Motivation doesn't last. You have to find your discipline. Well, today I'm going to give you my take on this and what I've found that's worked best for me. Motivation is kind of like muscle. When I first started working out about 20 years ago, I weighed 160 or 65 pounds, and I was not able to do repetition workouts with one 45-pound plate on each side of the bar doing chest presses. And that was a bit deterring for me. I could work out, maybe get a few of that, but I actually had to have less weight than that when I first started working out. And that was very depressing for me. Most people were working out with at least that in the gym. And then I saw this one guy come in and throw two plates on each side, 45-pound plates. And so he had 225 pounds and he was over there repping it out. And I'm like, man, that would be awesome. Like, I wish I could do that. And I continued working out and I got into competitive bodybuilding. And I'm not sure when, several years into this journey, I remember a time, and every single time I literally remember I would go into the gym and I had worked my muscles so much. They had been put under so much pressure, had rest, proper nutrients. They have grown. And I got to a place where when I would arrive at the gym and it was chest day, I would warm up with 225 pounds. Every time I did that, 135 was not enough. If I put 135 on and repped it out, I would end up, the muscles would tire from an aerobic standpoint. They would tire from lack of oxygen, but not from muscle fatigue. The anaerobic would not be fatigue enough under 135 as a warm up. I would put 225 on and I was able to do 25 repetitions warming up. My working sets were somewhere between 315 and 365. And every time I went in the gym and put 225 on just to warm up, it felt so good. But there was a time where I couldn't even work out with 135. 225 seemed like a peak of a mountain. But as I continued on my journey, 225 became the starting point for my warm-up. Discipline's a lot like that. The more we exercise our ability to use discipline, the more we can do. And when we look back at things that used to seem hard, it seems as if they got easier. But just like when I was bench pressing 225 pounds as a warm-up, the weight didn't get any easier. 225 pounds is an absolute truth. It's always going to be 225 pounds while on this earth. All that changed was I got stronger. Discipline is a lot like a muscle. The more you apply discipline in any individual area of your life, the easier it seems to apply discipline at the same level in that area of your life. And the more you can manage, and the things that you're going to be able to manage when you begin to apply discipline in specific areas of your life, the things that you're going to be able to manage with ease are the things that you're looking at today as maybe impossible or very, very impractical or very unlikely. But in the future, as you apply discipline, these will be your warm-up things. When you look at anything you've ever done in your life, there comes this place where it seems like, does this actually seem reasonable and prudent to continue? Any area in your life, we've all faced this in one area or another. And for those of us that chose to push through, not only did we realize we could do that, but then we realized we were capable of more. It kind of reminds me of when I was getting out of the military. I was doing a final medical exam, and in the Marine Corps, we use the Navy for all of our medical stuff. So I'm in this Navy officer's office, and he's doing my final medical evaluation review. And I look up on his wall, and I notice that he has a um, plaque for completing, and there's a picture, and I can see him in the picture, and I see his name, and I know his name. I'm talking to him, that he has completed Army Ranger School. That's pretty cool. This guy's in the Navy. He's an officer. That's pretty impressive. So I said to him, "Oh, you completed Army Ranger School?" And he said, "Oh, yeah, that was a few years back, several years back." And I said, "That must have been pretty hard, huh?" And he said, "At the time." And I was a little bit confused by his answer. I didn't say anything, but he could tell by my body language. And he said, "Well, at the time when I went to Navy boot camp, that was hard. But after I did Army Ranger School, I knew that Navy boot camp could no longer be hard for me. That's now easy." He said, "But later I went on to get my PhD, which required much more mental stamina than Army Ranger School did. There was much more opportunity for me to quit going through my PhD while on active duty, making sure I was studying, physically active, everything was squared away in the military, and I'm pursuing this higher education. It required much more mental stamina and discipline stamina to get to my PhD. It then made Army Ranger School seem pretty easy in comparison." He said, "The further we go, the easier we realize what we used to call hard was." It clicked for me. It made sense. Everything we do in our life seems hard up to that point. Motivation is our desire to receive or get that which we want. It's our desire to get what we want. Discipline is our grit to do all the shit we don't want to do. And think of it like building a campfire to stay warm if you were out in the wilderness, or maybe you were camping on a colder night. If you try to light your fire with big logs, or light big logs so that you can have a good, healthy fire all night long, you're going to be faced with a really big challenge. How do you get these logs lit? Do you just hold like a lighter to it? Or, I mean, how big does your tinder bundle have to be? It's possible to get these logs lit, but it's going to be really hard to go from flame to logs lit. Any of us that camped before or ever lit a fire were like, "Greg, I would just chop some of the big logs up until I had some kindling wood." And kindling is kind of like motivation, whereas the logs are kind of like discipline. If you try to start from ground zero with discipline, you are going to find that it is a very hard challenge. I didn't say you couldn't get the logs lit. You're going to find it's very hard if you're starting from scratch and you're attempting to start with only discipline. You're going to find yourself in burnout. Let's talk about why. Let's apply kindling to this, but let's remove the logs. Let's get our kindling lit. We might get a little tinder bundle. We get that thing lit. We put our kindling wood up there. Boom, we're lit just like that. We're getting warmth right away. We're getting immediate warmth off this fire. And then we go snuggle up to go to bed. Not only is that fire not going to keep us warm all night, it's maybe going to keep us warm enough, maybe if we're lucky, just long enough to fall asleep. That kindling wood, while it's easy to light, it just doesn't last. But as most of you know, if I pair both of these together, if I build my tinder bundle and I apply the kindling and I get my kindling wood lit, and then I apply my logs. But look, I gotta have my logs already ready. They have to be prepared to go on the fire before I light my kindling. Why? Well, if I light my kindling and I get it lit and it's rolling, and then I go looking for my logs, by the time I come back with my discipline, my motivation's going to be out. So I want to have my discipline prepared before I light my motivation. We'll make it make sense here in a minute. Once I have my discipline prepared, I'm then going to light my motivation once my kindling is lit. As soon as my kindling is lit, as soon as it's completely lit, I'm not waiting for anything else. I'm now applying my logs or discipline. I need that motivation or kindling to ignite my discipline for me. There's some people out there, the ones that chant like discipline, you got to do it anyway. You're like, no, you just start with discipline. You do. The person that says that, you just start with discipline. You're not starting from scratch, or you wouldn't be saying that. You're scaling. When you are scaling, it's all discipline time. Here's what I mean. You apply your kindling, you get it engulfed, completely lit. You apply your logs, you get those lit. Maybe you apply a few more, make sure you have a nice strong fire to last all through the night. You sleep through the night, you're nice and warm. You go through the next day. So as long as you protect your coals, they will remain very hot for a very long time. Tomorrow night, you can just put some logs on top of these coals, give it a little bit of oxygen, and we can restart with just our discipline. So for those that are saying like, hey, it's discipline, like we got to grit, we got to do the things we don't want to do, the motivation isn't going to last. That's true the further we go in our journey. If you are starting from scratch, man, you can get those logs lit, but you are fighting a very, very, very uphill battle if you do not apply kindling. What does it mean to be starting from scratch? We're starting from scratch if and when we are not aware of our intent or desire. If we are not aware of our intent or our desire in any specific area of our life, this is what I'm talking about when I say we're starting to light this fire from scratch. If you have no awareness, what is intent? What is desire? Let's break this down so that we have an understanding of terms before we move forward. It could sound a little bit like intent, desire. What does he mean by that? Well, let's define what I mean by this. Your intent and desire, I'm going to suggest, are one and the same for today. We could get very granular on that, but for today, one and the same. What do you want to happen in a very short sentence? In any area of your life or anything that you're doing, what is it that you want to happen? We don't realize when we're starting from scratch, we don't know what we want. And if you're anything like me, we're deathly afraid at an unconscious level to declare what we want. Because in that moment, we just became responsible. Now I have to go. I said I want that. I have to go create that thing. And what if I create that thing and it doesn't make me happy, or that's not the thing that I wanted? I won't be that specific. I want freedom, financial abundance, peace, joy, happiness. I want life to be better. I want to feel good. And we say things that are extremely vague because we don't want to be responsible for the specificity of our mission, our empire, our legacy, our life. You have to allow yourself to come to terms with what is it you're looking to create. If it's improving relationships with your children, your spouse, your neighbor, what is in play right now that you don't want? And what will be in play when it is what you do want? That's your intent, your desire. This is what I want to happen. So if I decide that I'm going to start going to the gym and following a regiment diet, it's not because I want to go through the stress of working out. It's not because I want to eat different foods than what I'm already pleasuring myself with. It's because I want to be healthy so I can, even healthy, very vague. What is healthy? Healthy for what? So I can be physically active in my 70s. That's a little bit of way ahead for me. I'm investing. It is like desire, intent, like it makes me really excited. Like when I see people that are mentally and physically sharp in their 70s, I mean, I see plenty of the complete other side of the spectrum when people are in their 70s. And I look at this and I'm like, I plan on being here in my 70s. If I see these two as an option, I want that one. What is it? I want. I desire to have that in my 70s. I currently have awareness of that. I'm blessed and happy because 10 years ago, I didn't have awareness if I'd be here for another 5 years. But now I see myself here in my 70s. I have awareness of some options of what life could look like in my 70s. And I have a desire for one specifically. So now I know my intent when I'm getting up to work out. I know what it is that I want. This is what allows me. This is the kindling wood. Like if I think about eating that meal and I'm like, I don't want to eat this. And then I think about being absolutely mentally and physically sharp in my 70s. I'm like, I will gladly eat this. I now have my motivation. Now, listen, do I want to live the rest of my life before every single meal thinking about my 70s and convince myself that I do want to do this? This is the thing that I actually chose. No, I want to have my discipline prepared before I light my motivation. Discipline is the grit to do the shit we don't want to do. So along the journey, by the way, the book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, it's worth a read. It's kind of this vibe. It's coming to mind as I'm talking. The journey, like we have to discover what it is we want first. We have to discover motivation first, because if not, Like, I remember when I first started my journey, I had no clue what I wanted. I was afraid of taking responsibility for that. But I had discipline, a lot of discipline. The truth is, like, I kept like finding burnout because it was like, why? Like, I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what it is I want. I don't know why I'm doing all this extra shit. And then it's like, why am I choosing to make life harder on myself? I might as well relax a little bit. This is the struggle most of us face because we tried to light the logs before we had the discipline. Listen, if we don't have a purpose, an intent, a desire, if we don't know why we are taking action on this thing, I mean, if we'd have no clue why, discipline is the grit to do the shit we don't want to do. If we're always applying discipline and we don't know what our reward is, then that means we're always doing shit we don't want to do. That seems real heavy and depressing and miserable. You're going to have to do things you don't want to do, right? That was never off the table. You're going to have to do things that you don't want to do. But it is invigorating, it is empowering when I'm collecting the things that I don't want to do so that I can trade them in for what I do want, for my intent, for my desire. And as long as I know what that is, I can always, if the coals got a little bit too cold, I can always throw a few more pieces of kindling and boom, we're rolling. Get more discipline back on there. Because I know what I want. I know why I'm doing this. I can remember at any time. Oh, yeah, that's right. Here's what's more. No one can tell you your why. I mean, they can, and you can adopt it if you want. If it's not truly your why, it's going to unravel in the future. You have to trust yourself. And the truth is, there's all kinds of great reasons to pick a why for, but you have to really go inside and decide why it is for you. When we're healed, I'm not sure that we get there in this 3D journey, but when we're healed, everything will be all positive rainbows. In the meantime, your why might be because you want to prove every single person wrong that said you couldn't. You're allowed to have that why. Like, if that excites you, how do you know it excites you? Because you've seen the image of you creating success and these people seeing your success. And without you even saying a word, it's understood. Yes, I could. If that's lighting a fire for you, there might be something there. Doesn't have to be. We have to discover for ourselves, why are we doing this? Or let's not even do it. Because if we're not sure why we are, listen, if we're not sure why we are doing the things we don't want to do, help me out. What's the definition of insanity? If we're not sure why we're doing the things we don't want to do, it's going to be really hard to force ourselves to keep doing these things. This is where we're going to be met with burnout. This is why it is imperative to know how to access and discover your motivation. I said access and discover, not even create. It already exists. There's already something that you want, your intent or your desire for the future. You're just blocking yourself from seeing it because you're afraid of the responsibility of owning it. You are not only allowed to mentally own it, you are allowed to physically own it. That's an internal journey of realizing you are worthy. Allow yourself to see what it is, claim what it is, own what it is, and then go after it. What's that saying? Go after it like you're the third monkey getting on the ark, something like that. You got to go after it relentlessly. This is when we apply our discipline. Yes, the motivation, the kindling wood is not going to keep us warm all night long. We have to have our discipline prepared. It's easy to do Discipline. Listen, all the people are like, you have discipline, do more discipline. They're not wrong. And it seems like they're like getting endorphins off it. They are. It's easy to do discipline when you know this is an exchange of energy for that which you desire. When you know this is my payment for what I will have. I was talking to someone the other day, and I had a promo going on, and this person said, "Hey, I want to get involved. I'm going to get involved next year." And I said, "Fair enough." I said, "Just want to make sure we're clear. Like, this is a time promo. You're good to get in next year, but when you hear the price next year, I don't want you to have sticker shock." And the person said, "I am willing to invest all the money in myself." I said, "Beautiful. We'll talk next year." You see, when we are ready, we are willing to invest all the money, all the energy in whatever it is. It doesn't matter. It costs 10 grand, 100 grand, $1 million. Okay, whatever. It's a number. In order to meet that number, it's going to require a certain level of energy. It's exciting. It is empowering when you imply discipline. Like when I was going to the gym in the very beginning, if I had no clue why I was going to the gym in the beginning, it was 20 years ago, it was not because I wanted to be healthy in my 70s. It was because I wanted to be the biggest guy on the beach. Come on. It was very aesthetically driven. And I say the biggest guy on the beach, more so metaphorically speaking. On a literal standpoint, if I was big enough, I knew people would leave me alone. So that would allow me to be safe, is what actually was going on. This is why I was. And it was very motivating to know that I could protect myself and could create my own safety at a level at which 90% of the time, 99% of the time, I wouldn't even have to fight with someone, because just visually they would have already decided to not fight me. I had no desire to fight anyone else. I didn't want to be fought. I wanted protection. I wanted safety. This was a huge motivation, a huge desire for me. If I did not have that, it would have made no sense to continue going to the gym where I felt much less than working out with what anybody in the women were warming up with. Very embarrassing on the front end. Okay. As I continued to apply discipline and show up, it always felt amazing. I mean, 15 years ago, at any given time, like there probably wasn't another person at the gym, unless it was my lifting partner, that was also working out, warming up with 225. I wasn't the only person, but of all the humans that do that, we're a little farther and few in between, and we're not always in the gym together. So many of exposures, I'm in the gym applying this discipline in which I keep going 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 15, 20 years later. I'm in the gym applying this discipline, and it feels so empowered. Like I'm 225 warming up. Like my ego's like, yeah, everyone check this out. Like I'm on a dopamine high right now. Right now. It feels good to apply your discipline. And when you're at that level, yeah, it's discipline, full throttle, and keep applying it. If we're at ground zero, if we've never went to the gym, without discovering my intent, my desire, my why, what I'm doing this thing for, I'm going to meet burnout. Because why would I keep doing the things I don't want to do? This is where discipline comes in. If it's discipline, it's the thing we don't want to do. If we want to do it, it's not a need to apply discipline. Motivation will just carry us right on through because we want it, and it's providing us with satisfaction, dopamine, serotonin. If we want to do it, we're already in there. Disciplines for the things we don't want to do. Why would we keep doing the things we don't want to do? Unless we're aware of what we want to create the future that we desire. Now, when you think about intent and desire, it's good to look at this as a big picture perspective. So, what's your intent? What's your desire in life? And then we can chunk it down. What's your intent, your desire in business, family, spirituality, health? Okay, so we can chunk it down a little bit, but then we can chunk it down even more. What's your intent or desire in this workout? What's your intent, desire listening to this podcast right now? You've been with me for 25, 30 minutes at this point. What do you want because you're listening to this podcast? It doesn't matter what it is. It's just clarity on here's what I'm looking for. Here's why I'm investing my time and energy listening to this. Here's what I'm wanting out of this. Here's what I desire to get out of this. What's your intent or desire on this individual workout, on this meeting, at tonight's dinner with your family? The more we focus on our intent, the more we are aware, we are consciously aware. Why am I doing this? What's in it for me? What am I trying to make happen? The more I'm aware of that, the more I am unconsciously motivated to apply discipline. It's only hard in the beginning. The people that are saying, hey, discipline, motivation, you got to do discipline, they are telling you the truth. If you're not sure why you're doing discipline, we got to start with why. We got to find out what is your intent. Once you're aware of that thing, listen, once you're aware of what your desire is, you have to internally remember the campfire. I got to have the logs prepared before I light the kindling wood. If not, I'm going to light the kindling wood, go look for my logs. I'm going to come back. The kindling wood is out. The motivation is going to be out, and I'm back to square one. Okay, we get jazzed up. We decide what we want. We're like, I want to launch this business. I'm gonna get all my friends involved. I'm gonna make 10 grand a month, 50 grand a month, 1,000 a month. I'm gonna start doing this thing. We found our motivation. If we don't have our discipline prepared, if we're not prepared to do whatever it takes to go all in, no matter what, and make this a reality, if we're not prepared for that, if our logs are not on standby, we're going to take off with motivation. And we're going to meet all of these challenges. Then we're going to sit back down when motivation burns out. And we're going to say, I can't do it because do-do, 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 do-do. We have to have our discipline prepared. So when we're going to say, hey, what's my intent? What is it that I want? Before I even do that, the reason why I want to know what I want is because I'm willing to go all in on what this thing is. I'm willing to submit to the outcome, but I'm going to control every ounce of energy that I have to share with this universe. I am ready to control my thoughts, my actions, my energy. What is it that I want? Why am I doing this thing? What am I after? Once I'm aware of what that is, I'm looking to gain this connection. I'm looking to learn this skill. I'm looking to improve this relationship, launch this business, scale to the next level, build a team, create systems. Now I'm excited. Yeah, I want systems. That's what it is. And I go out to start creating my systems. And I find out that, oh man, I have to learn this thing before I can finish this. I don't care. I will learn this thing because I am implementing systems, discipline, the grit to do the shit I don't want to do. I don't want to have to sit here and read this manual and learn this thing. But if I don't have the money to outsource it, if I don't have the resources to outsource this right now, then it's me. It's me. I got to read the manual. I got to learn the thing. And I know I don't want to read this manual. And I will read this manual because I will create these systems. All right. Greg's take on motivation and discipline. We got to find our intent. We got to know what it is that we want. Remember, when we get excited, the disciplined people, they say, hey, motivation doesn't last. It most certainly does not last. We got to have our logs ready. We got to have our discipline ready. Find what we want. That's our intent. That's our kindling. Light our fire. Put our logs on there. Never look back. In the future, you can just keep feeding this thing logs because the coals will reignite the logs for you. And as long as you keep feeding any mission, you can just keep going with discipline. If we pause long enough, we'll find we need to reestablish our why, our intent. We're going to need a little bit more kindling. All right, take that with you and see where you can apply it in your life this week. I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.
If this hit you deep, trust that.
Your pain has power, and your story isn't over.
Follow, share, and send this to someone who you think might benefit.
I'm Greg, and this was The Power in the Pain. Keep stepping into your power.